I'm back. This is the second part to videoing Marvin's lectures. I want to talk about technology for a moment. I'm using a Sanyo camera which I bought online. It's about 10 to 15-year-old technology for about $25. Okay, I had two of them. One broke. The reason why I ended up with two is I bought two of them. So I would have one as a backup for what I'm doing. So I'm single-threaded on this technology. Things that you should know about cameras, okay, is that's another whole bailiwick of technology there and resolution. I'm shooting this high def. When I upload it to YouTube, they then process it and they knock down the resolution that I put up on YouTube. So I'm shooting this as high resolution as I possibly can. So I have an issue with YouTube degrading my quality, my footage, but that's what they do. I haven't had a complaint yet about the quality of the video from people, but I do have from a couple of older people comments about hearing the video. I find the audio quality in this camera to be very good, and have not addressed audio quality. I have looked into it extensively. I cannot do this. I cannot bring in a separate audio jack into this camera because it doesn't have that capability. When I've started doing research, and this has been going on for about a year now for another camera, any camera that has an exterior microphone input seems to jump up in price to hundreds of dollars, okay, as opposed to what I've spent for this so far. So that is a big issue, especially in giving a lecture. But I want to talk about that for a second. Any area that is that needs improvement in audio, in the film editing software Filmora, we have separate tracks, and you have a track for audio, and I believe you could probably just record another audio and edit that in just the way you would edit in a section of film or a section from ZMax or something from your notes. You can edit that in and slice and dice it any way you want. But it just takes time, okay? Getting a wireless microphone and a camera is a procurement issue that's going to go into dollars, okay? I've done this over the years for other organizations, and the good wireless microphones are upwards in the $500 to $600 range. Okay, that's just for the microphone. Okay, the lavalier and the receiver. That does not have to do with the camera, which would have to be upgraded to get a camera that takes a video input. The other question you brought up: could you do this with a iPhone? Yes, you can. I do not have an iPhone. So I'm not talking from first experience, but I know at township meetings, people are there with a tablet, and they can record videos on their tablet. You can record videos on your iPhone. What you probably need for that is a tripod and a holder that mounts on the tripod for your iPhone or your iPad or tablet, whatever you're doing with that. But that brings me into something that I know is near and dear to both of us. I like using the right tool for the job. This cheap little camera is phenomenal. It has so much capability, and I've been screwing around with it for 2 years, okay? And I finally figured out how to use a lot of stuff on it, a lot of stuff I don't need it. This is typical camera equipment. They kill you with more features and functions than you could possibly shake a stick at. I think the biggest thing that I've used the features for is the time lapse. Don't know if that's valuable for any of your lectures, but I've done that with other videos I've done. I've done time lapse of me collecting my grass clippings and my leaves in the fall, making my compost pile, and I just show how many iterations it takes me to pick up all the stuff from my property. I'm not going to get a Cecil B. DeMille Awards for my photography, my cinematography, but I thought it just showed people my my diligence in collecting and composting. Okay, So that's something about the camera. Just some other specs that I just want you to be aware of. I've told you this camera generates for every 45 minutes at high resolution. Okay, I'm generating a 2 GB file. When I go to a town meeting that runs about an hour and a half to 2 hours, I can generate upwards of 8 files. That's about 8 gigabytes. So now you understand the issue of transferring 8 gigabytes electronically. Okay, it's a pain in the ass. The SIM card on this camera is maxed out at 16 gigabytes. Yes, there are bigger ones, but this camera does not support bigger cards. Okay, other cameras have their constraints also. Okay, just want you to be aware of that. This camera right now is shooting in high def, and I can change the resolution on that. I wouldn't look at 4K or higher because the files are huge and it's not worth the additional storage capacity that you need to work with it. Also the increase in processing time on the back end on your computer to do this. Which brings me to another issue. As I generate this stuff, okay, for your lecture, you need to seriously think about getting another disk drive, okay, and loading this stuff onto another drive. And you might say, well, what the hell? That's important. I have plenty of space on my drive. I'll use that. I had that problem. This is a mistake that I made. I updated my laptop about 2 years ago. My hard drive was failing, so I took out a half of terabyte drive, a 500 gigabyte drive, and I updated to a terabyte. I said, oh, that'll be fine. Well, in about a year and a half, I've just blown through 70% of that with the video editing. Okay, so there's a lot of this uses a lot of storage, and when I change computers, now I have to figure out how to get it off of my present computer onto my next computer. An external drive would have made that problem go away. I just unplug it USB, plug it into another USB. With everything, there are issues, okay? USBs, okay? There are different types. There's A, B, and C, and C comes in different flavors and different speeds, okay? Obviously, the latest ones are even faster and makes delay in accessing the files that much faster, okay? So that's just something to be aware of on your computer technology side. I've looked at Filmora. They have recommendations for their minimums on their computer as well as the graphics processor. With the fact that technology has been continuing to go at the last 40 years and improving every 2 years or dropping a price by half, you now have the option of putting a solid state disk drive on a computer. You can do that USB, I believe, or you can put it right on the computer, and you can get a terabyte a solid state disk drive, which is just phenomenal. In fact, I'm thinking about that for my computer also, because I liked anything that speeds it up is just welcome these days, because I'm always waiting for things to pop up and response time. So okay, we carry the camera. Tripod. I have problems in buying tripods because, like most things, I like to research it, and you really just can't tell from reading a spec online what the tripods can do. So I've asked a friend of mine who does a lot of garage sales, and she's managed so far over the last couple of years to find 2 used tripods which have met my needs fine. When I research into tripods, I end up with these tripods at $1,500, which is more expensive than the camera. The reason why I have $1,500 tripods is because if you're putting a $5,000 lens on it, you want to make sure that the tripod is not going to collapse. So I'm not putting a $5,000 lens on the tripod, but that's what happens when I start to do the research. Of the 2 tripods she picked up the garage sale, one disintegrated, not because I abused it, it's just because it just it was bad, okay? I still have it, haven't thrown it away. Thought I might be able to fix it. My other tripod, which is going to be funny, is from Herman. He gave it to me 50 years ago, you know, with my curiosity, I tried to take it apart and damage some of the way it locks. I figured out how to fix it. You know, it's very sentimental to me because I got it from your dad. It was a present from your dad. I still have it, but I don't use it because one of the legs keeps on collapsing, which really, you know, all of a sudden you're sitting there and then the tripod does one of these things, you know, and then it falls on the floor. Not a good thing. I told you about the lighting. Right now in the shop, these LED lights are great. Fluorescence causes flicker. So, you know, depending upon where you're shooting, you might want to look at your lighting consideration and whether we'll need to bring in some additional lighting to make sure we don't have a flickering problem. I don't know what the lab looks like, but just something for you to be aware of. Don't know if we have to solve that problem day one. I didn't start shooting videos here in the shop until I put in the LED lights because I was aware of the flickering problem, and you'll see the bars go through the video because of that interaction. Trying to think of anything else. Oh, other big technologies. I usually keep my extension cord in my bag with my camera. I don't. It's very rare that I actually shoot on battery. Most of these cameras have limited battery capability, so I like to be plugged in. Yeah, inside of lecture hall shouldn't be a problem, but locate the plug, okay? Got to know whether we're bringing the 25-foot extension cord or the 50 or the 100-foot to get to where the outlet is. So you need to scope that out in the lecture hall you're at. You know, I don't imagine it to be a big problem, but you know, got to be prepared. Trying to think of anything else that you should think about. Oh, this is something that I do for the organization, CELU, that I've been a member of, is when I have a forum, I made up a banner, okay, that hangs behind the candidates that says, you know, CELU, Citizens for Informed Land Use, and it has our Facebook thing, and it has our web address, okay, and it has our email thing, and I use that as a backdrop. You know, that I like that because it's a whole lot better than shooting the wall with other pictures and other distractions there. May not be an issue for you in a lecture hall because you've got the blackboard behind you, you know, that's something to think about. I've momentarily thought about using green screens, okay, but here again, you know, that's just another tool that's out there where you put a green screen behind you and then you could bring in whatever images you want afterwards to be behind you, okay? I've never played with it, but the technology's out there. I don't remember exactly how Filmora does it with. By the way, I am not married to Filmora, okay? It's just that I was a friend of mine who does this for a organization all the time. She recommended, and that's why I went to it. There is open source editing software that came with my camera. Somehow I can't find it anymore, which is one source. There are other open sources for it. If you go to one of the mainstays in the industry, Adobe, okay, they have all this stuff, okay, and they have the Adobe suite, and there's another $1,500 worth of licensing for all their capability, as well as the learning curve in figuring out how to use all that stuff. What I like about Filmora is I got it to work, whereas some of these other ones I couldn't get to work. By the way, you can edit right on YouTube. Okay, they have YouTube and they have YouTube Studio. Okay, the issue here with using their tools is that it's stuck on their platform. I think it's much better for me to edit on my computer, and I could put it on anybody else's platforms, and I don't have to worry about retrieval later on. Okay. They offer you the tools so that people gravitate to putting their stuff on their platform, and then if you want to move it off their platform, that's another issue. By the way, this video is uploaded to YouTube. Okay, you can, I know I can, downloaded from YouTube onto my computer. So I just use it as a cheap way of transferring large files. Now YouTube, as I said earlier, does a processing on the file. They knock down the resolution. Okay, so obviously, because of the size of these files, okay, they take these 2 gigabyte files and drop it down to something ridiculously like 200 megs. Okay, so they're getting a 10-to-1 reduction by changing the resolution. Perfectly fine if you're putting it onto a computer screen. But if you wanted to use the video in your lecture, okay, and pop it up on a screen, projector in the classroom, then you're going to need the higher resolution to be able to do that. Or I don't need to tell you about grain, since you are a expert in this field. Okay, so just some other things from a technology point of view. I'm trying to think if there's any other gotchas here, in doing all this stuff. But So this is an issue that I've had with where I shoot in the community center. There's ambient light that comes in from outside that causes glare. So I don't know about your lecture hall, but you need to worry about extra light coming in and how that hits the picture. And just be aware of it. So here's something, as I said, when we shoot the first video, we're going to discover these issues really fast, okay? And then we'll prioritize and figure out which ones you want to work on. And as you've seen in the shop, they go on the list, and eventually we'll get through all the distractions and figure out how to make this meet the criteria that you would like to do, okay? Like you shared with me with some of the famous artists about finishing their paintings, a lot of this stuff is never finished. You can always find areas of improvement, but let's get it to a point where you're meeting the needs of the students that are taking your class, and work on that aspect. Okay, I'll be talking to you later.